And we are live. Alright, everybody. What should we talk about today? As you know, as you might have guessed, I usually don't decide in advance what the topic is going to be. Let me just, in fact, I see something is going on here with my live streaming. Keeps reloading for some reason. This is improvised, and as I kind of explained last time, that's part of the deal, because the whole exercise is about putting yourself at the edge of your thinking and kind of being authentic in a way that you wouldn't be if you're just reciting what you already know. So there's something weird going on. I hope you can see me fine, because for me the video keeps kind of blinking and reloading. Let's hope things are going well. Which is kind of distracting. Maybe I can, I'm going to see whether blinking and reloading. Let's hope things are going well. Just played my own video and it looks like things are actually fine. Let me, because this is kind of distracting, move some things around. And there we are. Sorry about that. We are back. This is, by the way, something, the format of this, I'm still not clear about what it should be, right? Like, should I prepare some topics in advance? Should I do what I was doing before, which was kind of to more spend some time thinking and then make a video that's more quick and streamlined, edit it and publish it? Or is this what we want? And let's say that what this offers or enables is that people can join me here, right? As soon as I'm live, you can actually join in conversation. And so that's an opportunity that just putting videos out there doesn't offer. And then there is the question, once the videos are out there, should I spend some time rewatching them, cutting the highlights perhaps? So yeah, I'm happy to hear your feedback about this. And it looks like, so I feel that I'm part of something that's going on, that I don't want to do something just on my own, just because. I want to participate, and the voice in me that tells me, who are you to participate, this time by definition is not right, because everyone is invited to participate. So here I am, showing up basically. But no one said that you need to participate in public. That's still, I guess, up to you. I really like John Vervaeke's formulation of that, meaning he talks about how the fact of having an audience is constraining in two ways, in the sense that it reduces the scope of what you can talk about, but then it also enables or allows affordances that you wouldn't have otherwise. So in a way, like, there are advantages and disadvantages, and so one needs to be skillful about when to do things in public and when not. And I think it would be a mistake to only do things in public, because there are some important topics that one has to sort out and that don't belong in front of the public eye. And so, as I already said, if this becomes a distraction from working on those things, then that's a mistake. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention is the last video on Guy Sengstock's channel is amazing. It's a video where Guy Sengstock, Jordan Hall, John Vervaeke and Christopher Mastropietro, something like that, have a dialogue about the thing, right? What is this thing? And it looks like what the thing is a way of participating in dialogue. So there is a kind of a autopoetic element, like kind of recursive, self-referential, self-generating, basically. And I think that we have seen steps towards that, and probably the thing is infinite, but that conversation has definitely been one step, one clear, quantum leap towards the thing. So if the fundamental question is how do we have to show up and engage with each other, in what way do we have to lead a discourse, how do we have to be in dialogue with each other, communicate, so that we can solve our collective problems, then we see a thread of improvements that have been happening. And I'm taking this from Jordan Hall. So CNN, BBC, the 7-minute interview with 5 people at the same time, each of them having like half a minute to say something and maybe interject something. That's obviously not the way complex problems are solved at the collective level. What you have there is good opinion being passed down and broadcast to the masses. So, and there are better forms of communication that have been appearing that maybe one wouldn't have been able to predict, but now after the fact, they obviously are better. So one is podcasts, right? Where the interviewer has 3 hours. Take Joe Rogan's podcast, where he just has all the time to ask all the questions he wants to his guest. And so I got a better sense of who, oh my God, let's take Elon Musk is from that kind of interview. And then there is something about the kind of the free flowingness of it. But then even that is maybe not the ultimate form of communicating. So I've seen other podcast hosts that are more, kind of a bit more vulnerable and less in interviewer mode. I would say Joe Rogan is not a good example as kind of this more interviewer mode kind of podcast, because he participates a lot. But still, I would say that people like Daniel Thorson of the Emerge podcast are a good example of, obviously also Peter Lindbergh. I think these two come to mind. They kind of have an embodied sense of participation. They have skin in the game, in a sense. The things that they talk about are deeply touching to them. And But there, I would say there's still a bit of the, let's say it depends on the episode, but they are kind of oscillating between being the interviewer and then being like on a symmetric level. So both participating in the same way, co-creating the thing. And so there are, and we have seen things that are even more like that, more symmetric. Then there is another aspect, another area of discourse that has also not been the thing, which is the debate format, where it's all about my opinion versus your opinion, my worldview versus your worldview, and we both have audiences that cheer for us, and then it's a matter of showing all the good arguments. And if I manage to show that you are not right, then I've won, right? Even though you might actually kind of retreat and close your mind even more, I have managed to expose that you were wrong, and that's right. Or even if I managed to change your mind, even there the frame is the wrong one. It's still an oppositional frame. My thesis versus your antithesis. But now people like Jordan Hall and now perhaps even more Guy Sengstock, they have been bringing another quality to the conversation. They have been bringing this more like this symmetrical, explorational kind of quality where we are here together and trying to break new ground and trying to explore, and maybe we have different perspectives, but it's not about my perspective versus your perspective, it's about rule omega, what Jordan Hall calls rule omega, this idea that I might try to say something and it's 98% wrong, and you, instead of criticizing the parts that are wrong, you try to listen and kind of pull the thread, pull the information out of the noise and like reflect it back with more accuracy. And then if this happens multiple times and then maybe there are other people listening, we can generate signal in a distributed fashion very effectively. And again, that's why everyone is invited to participate, because everyone has a unique perspective and can kind of maybe remove a little bit of the noise from one side or the other. And so this is kind of where I was at until 2 days ago or 3 days ago, when this new video came out. So what was new about that conversation? I'm not sure. That's a good question. So for sure all these elements were there. These were 4 people, which is quite unique actually, especially the fact that it was amazing. And one would expect these kind of difficult new forms of conversation to break down with more people. But the skillfulness of these people built through decades, they managed to pull it off. And so the question is, what was new about it? Because, maybe I forgot to mention that we have been seeing conversations of that very symmetrical kind now for a while, with especially these people, between Jordan Hall, Guy Sengstock, John Vervaeke, Jordan Hall, and all sorts of combinations, and then Pajot jumped in a couple of times, Paul van der Klee. So there is something going on there about this kind of openness, these generative dialogues. But now, again, I have this feeling that something new happened 3 days ago. And I'm struggling to find out what it was. I think a number of things clicked, and it really felt like, okay, now we really have the masters of this coming together. Each of them bring their individual strengths, but then like kind of like these strengths like amplifying each other. And it really felt like seeing like, yeah, like, I mean, the jazz band metaphor fit very well. You really saw masters in their craft like helping each other and improvising, right? Because again, this improvisational aspect was there, was strong. This exploratory mode. And so something came out of it, something where it had an emotional impact, because they were really like amplifying each other and going in kind of in circles, you know, like giving, everyone had their turn to speak, and they were like bam bam, adding more to it, adding more to the thing. And at the same time, so there was this, for sure there was this self-referential aspect going on all the time, this autopoetic thing, where they were focusing on what was going on and talking about it, but then talking about it with such skill and nuance and sensibility that it was coming through better and better in a way. And so like as I speak, and I think this is important, as I speak I'm realizing that I was more just in the mind and trying to think about it, but then the self-referentiality of it reminded me that if I want to participate, I kind of need to do the same. And I myself cannot just be a disembodied thinker and everything happening in my mind. And so I started kind of feeling more aware of my body and of my posture, my position. And so right now I feel that yes, this is important. The fact that I was able to sense that and move into a more centered space, and perhaps this is how kind of this machinery gets bootstrapped, of at the same time the words making you, transforming you, and becoming able to say better words, which then transform you again in that manner. And obviously the fact of other people listening and therefore kind of amplifying each other's signals as well. You know, it's a recursive skill, right? To be good at it is to become better at helping others become good at it. It reminds me of this idea of the pyramid of hierarchy, where no one reaches the top because, or the closer people are at the top, like, okay, let me talk about this. This is cool. So imagine a pyramid of hierarchy. Like imagine a hierarchy of value. Like there is one value, like, okay, I have to rephrase that. So imagine there is a value, and the better people are at that value, the higher they are in this pyramid that represents the hierarchy related to that value. Now let's take a quite special value, which is the capacity to help others get better at it. Right? It's a self-referential value. Now, if you think about it, the closer you get there, by definition, the better you are at helping others get there. So the only way someone can reach the top is if at the same time everyone else reaches the top. So it is the value that kind of transcends the hierarchy. And you can feel a sense of vertigo and of acceleration because the more people get to the top, the more they help everyone else get to the top, so the pyramid gets squeezed, but then people move up faster this pyramid, and the faster they move, the better they are at helping everyone else. So there is a kind of an explosion towards the top, and that's quite an interesting way of looking at hierarchies. And I think there are two religious figures that represent that, right? I mean, there is Christ, who washes the feet of his disciples, right? And says, if I am your master and I washed your feet, therefore you have to wash each other's feet. That's exactly it, right? He's the top of the hierarchy, and he represents, right, having to help each other get there. And then there is this kind of legend of Buddha achieving nirvana and then deciding that he doesn't want to stay there, even though he could, until everyone else was able to get there. And so you see there that kind of the value that transcends the value hierarchy. These are thoughts that I had back in the day where I was fully immersed in Jordan Peterson material. But I think it's relevant. There is something there about the way the dialogue boosts each other's, kind of structures people, transforms them into a better tool at doing the thing. And so it's an accelerating process, hopefully. It looks like, right? If there is a there, then the process by which we get there kind of, I don't know, it seems to be, has to be accelerating, even though perhaps, because then you need more and more precision, it doesn't happen. One needs to know how steep the pyramid is as well, right? But still, there's something hopeful about that. And so, and something really that makes one feel enthusiastic, or at least me. And I have to say that the dialogue itself at a certain point felt mildly psychedelic. Not really, but I had kind of these images of, again, the mandala, and kind of these people trying to get there, and obviously not reaching the center of the mandala, but imagine being really, really close to the center, where it becomes very loud and very, you are going towards it, and you hear, I don't know, you hear the spheres, something like that, the sounds, the bells. Someone even commented something like it's ringing, and I can relate to that. So there was a sense of ringing, of bah, 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 because we are getting there, at a higher and higher speed. And yeah, and so that's why I call it mildly psychedelic, because it is the images correspond to what one experiences in psychedelic trips, and that was pretty much a spontaneous imagination, if you will. And there was this element of circling, right? So of boosting each other. That was strong. This sense of oh yeah, and then the next person say, yes, yes, yes. Okay, and I'm sure they have thoughts about this. So that the question that comes now is how do you use? Let's say you cannot use it, but and maybe you don't have to use it, maybe it happens automatically, but how can this thing then solve problems? Yeah, how can it be used to solve problems, right? Or how will that thing solve problems? Maybe that's the better question, because yeah, given that it's sacred, you cannot use it, right? But there is this implicit sense that that thing will transform, maybe it will just shape you into the person that will solve the problems. You know, like you become the golden tool because you have that clarity. So there is maybe a fear of it becoming self-referential, you know, like to use a very vulgar but also kind of, that brings it to the point, like a circle jerk, you know, because it's circling, right? How do you know that that's not circle jerking? Or like, well, what's the difference? And maybe there is no difference. Maybe it's just what a friend of mine called the taboo of belonging, you know, like why can't we belong to something? Why are we afraid of things being sects, right? Like, oh, Jordan Peterson, is he a sect guru, whatever, you know? And now is this a new sect? And is this fear? Yeah, the taboo of belonging. So that's a good question. There's a voice that keeps telling me that I should cut out the highlights of what I'm doing. And I'm not sure that that's the right thing to do. I think it would promote, for sure, it would be good at promoting whatever, this channel, me, you know, like putting out a better signal of what I'm about, what I find interesting, the ways in which what I'm saying is relevant, or at least, you know, maybe it's not relevant. Obviously I'm not, you know, I don't belong to the experts who spent decades of their life studying that. So I don't even know whether you should spend time listening to me. Maybe you should spend time talking to me because the experts have bounded time, right? So we are invited to participate, and let's talk to each other at least, right? So that's my invitation. Not necessarily listen to me, but yeah, have a chat with me, you know, like let's kind of do the thing as far as we can understand it together and help each other that way, becoming the tools, the golden tools, if that's possible. So back to the question, right? The question is, should I cut highlights out of these videos and put them on Twitter so that other people may see, okay, there is this person who is more at the periphery, right? Not, you know, again, I'm not a master, but I'm here and I want to participate, and you're welcome to participate and join me in conversation. And perhaps it's not right to want people to spend hours watching my material before they even know whether it makes sense, right? I don't know, like, what is the best way to participate? Maybe I should answer that question, which is a more fundamental one, right? Is this already the most effective way I can spend my time? You know, I talked about it in my first live stream. I have kind of this layered system for me, you know, like my family comes first and it has to feel right. If we feel that, okay, there is now time for something more, then I have my couple of friends where we have more private conversations, which allows us to go kind of deeper and more personal territory. And then if they don't have time, then here I am, right, in public. And so is that the best way for me to participate? Something that comes to mind is perhaps I should be coding instead of talking. Because I can and because I have opinions about all that. And again, maybe at a certain point, maybe that moment is now, I'm not sure. I think I have something to contribute there in terms of sense making. Yeah, sense making about what kinds of technologies will afford this distributed collective sense making and meaning making and action and everything. What kinds of tools do we need? I have opinions about the core technology. I have opinions about more like the tools, regardless of the base technology. And these opinions are not complete, not finished, not fully fleshed out. So that's another topic I would be happy to even have conversations about with others. You know, what kinds of technologies and tools help us really like become more effective, more sovereign, but then like help each other, you know, and then kind of afford this distributed sense making. Yeah, and many thoughts, but I don't know if this is the moment to talk about that. Maybe I should keep it like that. Maybe I should not make it longer, today's stream. Yes, I think I will end it here, and I hope that someone watches this and is inspired to join me in conversation. Please reach out and we could even set up a specific time, or at least a specific day, because the time is more or less fixed. So that's it. Have a good day and see you next time. Bye.